Welcome back to our next MLS preview here. I am Deke, and today we're looking at the Columbus Crew. So, as you can see here, we have the formation. With these formations, they can play in a lot of different formations. This is kind of just a rough estimate guess. I use Sorare USA as a starting point. If you don't follow him on Twitter, definitely worth a follow. He has great MLS content. And then I kind of go with it. So, for example, Columbus, I've seen them as a 3-5-2 as well, but this is kind of just where I'm going with as a standard formation, and we'll hit the highlights on most of these guys. So, if we take a look at the back line, starting with the goalkeeper and Room. So let's get right into him. He is a very dependable goalie. If we take a look at his price, about $52. Higher end for the MLS. He is 33 years old and his contract runs out at the end of the year. But look at his scores. Some really nice scores in the green a lot, and he's very dependable. He doesn't have too many of those stinkers that a lot of MLS goalies have. You do see a 10 and a 7 there, but other than that, he's very dependable. He's not going to kind of blow off the top with like a super high game, but as a goalkeeper, he's very, very solid. Next up, we're going to go to left back and Jimmy Madronda. So he is a 28-year-old left back, and he has some low scores. His card is the Seattle Sounders card. He is coming over from Seattle, and he should win the job. The backup that you might see maybe win the job is Sands as well. We'll take a look at him. But right now I have Madronda just slightly ahead. You take a look, he wasn't a starter that much. He mainly came off the bench for Seattle last year. He had some really nice scores this game against the Whitecaps, 36.92 AA, and he bagged an assist there as well. So he could go either way. I'm going to start with him. Let's take a look at Sands though as well, because if he doesn't go, oh, not James, right? William. Not the Rangers one. He's under 23, so that's why I want to mention him. He's very cheap, but also, will he start? I don't know. He did start a little bit at the end of the year, and then he went back relegated to the bench. He was solid, and I've seen if they play like a 3-5-2, he might be like the wing back that plays, whether it's a back five or a back three, kind of up the field a little bit, so they might play a little bit of that. So he is definitely worth notice. Left center back, I have Milos Degenek, and you take a look at his scores. Again, match the jersey color, and not really that great. He had some solid games, but he gets a lot of cards. You might have saw him playing for Australia in the World Cup. He started the last two matches at right back, so he plays center back for Columbus. I wouldn't assume that he'd play right back whatsoever, but he starts a decent amount of the time. He does go through stretches where he didn't start, but that was an injury here. Whenever I went back and looked, he was injured, so he should be the kind of nailed-on starter here. Not the highest scores, but some of those are because of subs. Right center back, Jonathan Mensah. He is a little bit higher on the end of scoring, so if we take a look, as long as he starts, that was weird that he played 17 minutes, started and then out, but then started the next game. He does have some chances to get that upside. He scores from time to time. As you can see here, 89 in the game before. He had 47 points of AA, which is great. He could score on a set piece here or there. He does come into play. He does have more upside than some of the other backline guys we already talked about. Interesting. He is only $1.67, so do what you want with that information. He does have a chance to pop off, but it's mainly going to be these scores that you're looking at. So I wouldn't go out and grab him right away, but if you're in need of a cheap guy, he's not the worst. And then right back, Steven Moreira. He is without cards, but if we take a look at some of his scores, he had a stretch here, a 5-game stretch last year. I never heard of him kind of before the season, and he didn't really come into my picture just because he didn't have cards last year. But then I was like, who's this L5 guy who's just absolutely going off? I didn't watch a ton of Columbus Crew unless they played the Philadelphia Union, so didn't really kind of follow them as much other than like whenever they're in the playoffs and things like that. So whenever he gets cards, he could be interesting. Price-wise, he does have the most upside of the back line. Next up is old Mr. Dependable, Darlington Nagbe. So he is 32 years of age, and he's only $5. I won a decent amount of rewards, actually. I think there's like 3 weeks in a row that I won rewards with a Darlington Nagbe card, and it was at the beginning of the year, yeah. So I think it was this 3 stretch here where he was just unbelievable. He's an AA guy. He does get AA. Whenever he plays that defensive role, he's kind of transformed his game from how he used to play, and he does have that upside if he can put it together a huge AA game. And he had a decent amount of decisives from a center defensive mid, 3 goals, not bad, but he has the upside. Whenever he hits those and he has some AA in that game, he just smashes. So he is there. The first one that we talked about, the first designated player, if we bring this up, in red are all the designated players. So most of the time, that's your best players. They're the most highly paid players on the team that don't count against salary cap. Aiden Morris, another under 23 now. I like Aiden Morris. I like him as a player. He's $10, under 23 tax. He's solid. He can pop off occasionally. I think he will improve this year, and the partnership with Nagbe in that central mid role, I think, will be solid, especially playing another year together. So he did kind of come off the bench and made it to his role as a starter, and they did some rotation at times, but I do think he is going to be the starter. All right, let's go to the attackers. So Kevin Molino at the left attacking mid. He does have forward and midfield, but not many midfield, mainly forward cards. And you can kind of just see he was the starter. He came off the bench. They rotate. So I'm going to go with him as starter. They don't have a backup on the left side that I know of as of now. So while they can't really get anyone that is super special to come in at that, look for a backup to be signed before our kickoff here. I know they have other guys that can kind of move around, but as far as the depth chart, it looks like it's him right now. So interesting, but yeah, I'm not really. $1.69, very cheap. A lot of these guys limiteds are very cheap. Let's get into some a little bit better. So $105 for Lucas Zelleran, and he is a stud. So if you're looking for a partnership, it would be the striker Juan Hernandez, Cucho, and himself. So if you look at this stretch here, nothing but greens, and he is a stud. He is 30 years old. He controls the strings in the central attacking role. He's going to hit a lot of decisives, goals, assists. He had a nice highlight reel goal. If you are an Apple TV, they just released their MLS package going through like the goals of the year. He had several that were really nice goals. He does get, he missed some time here, but he does play for Armenia as well. So that is a little bit of extra added utility. And he's a stud. So if you're going to buy anyone, and if he's going to be, or if you're going to have a stack, he's got to be in it, especially with just he links up. He plays with Juan Hernandez very well. On the right side, we're going to go with Yaboa. As far as him, he's 79 cents. This is kind of a, will he start? I'm going to kind of pencil him in. He started earlier in the season before Juan Hernandez came over, but he played a little bit of the right side, a little bit of striker. He's interesting. I think he's going to start, but the scores just aren't there, and you don't really want to buy him. 79 cents shows you why you probably shouldn't. Nothing really to say about him. He's 25 years old. That's about it. I do want to mention that with our final player and our striker, in that 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, however you want to look at it, Zelarian and Juan Hernandez, Cucho, as he's known, could play striker together. So that partnership would be, especially as strikers, there's a lot of decisives to be had. So last guy here, this is probably the upper echelon of players, and he's an under 23 for the first half of the season. It's Cucho Hernandez, Juan Hernandez. He gets goals. As far as AA, he can put up some AA games, which is actually surprising. I thought it was just more decisive based. 20 AA, 14 AA, 28 and 2 goals. I mean, that's great. Since coming over from Watford, he has been a stud in the MLS. He was a great signing, and he really takes the team to the next level. If you're going to go with a stack, you could have room for sure. Let's bring the image back up. Room for sure. Maybe your defender. Maybe when Steven Moreira gets a card, or Jonathan Mensah, you could punt that position. Then Zalarian, Juan Hernandez, and then maybe probably Nagby is how I would play that. So they're interesting. The East is really wide open in my opinion. I think there are some front runners, but the bottom like 4 or 5 playoff spots could be anywhere. If you look at last year, some of the teams that are supposed to make it dropped way off, and injuries will do that. So whoever can stay healthy, honestly, can get it done. If you're still watching all these series, I really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the Eastern Conference, I'll give a short little, either a Twitter post or a short little video on my predicted table. It could be way off. It probably will be way off. But it's something that I like doing, and just kind of keep myself accountable to see if what I think before the year happens, injuries happen. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm kind of going through each one, and as I check off a team doing this, I rate them on what would be the table. So it's really tight. I'm going back and forth with a lot of teams. So thanks for watching. Again, we're going to keep going with the Eastern Conference and hopefully have all these teams out by the opening day, which is under a month away. Thanks for watching.